it should be fine here.
Yeah, I guess so. Anyways, I'm talking about the North American players now. Just pure North America. And there's a very decent chance that these guys, like these two guys in particular, still have a shot to make it through, just because there are 8 slots left. And, I mean, I could see definitely some people could make it, don't make it, like Junkin Boy could definitely make it. Sometimes he just comes back and he's really good, but there are still only so many slots. It really actually is some of the smoothest, I dare say easiest in, a certain way, qualifiers that we've had. I mean, I thought this was going to be more like the WCS qualifiers, where it was double elim, and Europe took 7 hours. And that's not it, actually. So.
Oh, that was one of the most wonderful things about ESL taking the reins of the esports, is that Apollo was... I remember being on a phone call with him and just talking to him about the new format before it was announced. He's just like, look, there's been a lot of things left over from WCS that don't make sense, and we're just going to get rid of that. And also, prize distribution amongst many things. So that's definitely one of those things. Trimming a bit of that fat off of those brackets is like making it longer just for the hell of it. Anyway, we are in game 1 of our first series together. I'm excited. Let's hop right here. Still represented by Psystorm. It is JonSnow.
In the bottom left, representing Roots, we got the purple Protoss Raze. That new skin as well.
Yeah, the Ihan Re Nexus. Quite nice. And also, just to talk about the game so far, pretty regular, apart from the fact that Raze went immediately across the map with the probe for the natural hatchery block, which is just so common at the moment in PvZ, and it usually leads to the Adept printer. But it is just a cool thing to do anyway, I feel, because it also helps you out not just with the Adept printer, but just regular like Twilight Council, Robo, Archon drop stuff. It's nice, like because you've slowed down creep spread between the main and another base, which is really the whole idea.
Very obnoxious for the Zerg player to deal with. Best case scenario is honestly that they do just skip the natural and go straight to the 3rd base and don't do a weird like, oh, I'm gonna try, but then I don't actually get it. Some Zerg players actually play out macro games off of a 14 hatch, but it's obviously just not ideal. I almost feel like that comes down to the Zerg's own ability to understand what tilts them, you know what I mean? And they're just like, no, like, F it, I'm gonna get this, and like, screw you, Protoss. More than it's necessarily the best thing to do, but...
Yeah, I think most Zergs out there, the ones that I've talked to, are still like, 15 hatch or die trying. They don't really want to do anything earlier than that. Even with the probe, they'd be like, no, I guess I'll just get the 3rd base location for my natural. It's fine.
And, not every Protoss does the super quick probe, of course. So if you did do something extreme as a reaction and then just didn't even happen, you feel kind of silly. But for sure, it's very rare to see Protoss not do any probe at all. It happens occasionally, but very rare. And Raze is going to go into a Stargate here, so it's not setting up for anything more nefarious than just probably getting the initial mental edge, perhaps. But 2 Adepts are looking to stick around. They do actually want to do something here.
Yeah, I mean, the 2 Adepts will one-shot a worker, so if they get into a mineral line, it's going to be problems for JonSnow, and this is part of the power of not having that creep spread just yet. JonSnow's already dropped 1 creep tumor, but it's sort of going towards the Protoss rather than towards his natural. So the natural, the 3rd, and the main are going to be disconnected for quite a while, which will also help, I feel like, with the Oracle follow-up. And we're already seeing drone damage here from Raze. 2 drones going down. 1 Adept is going to get picked off, so that's nice for JonSnow. And that's going to be that last drone kill there. All right.
I don't know if that was necessarily ideal. It looks like he got a couple lings in his main, or, I mean, the scouting probe died and then something else died, but even without the 2 probes also going down, yeah, I'm not sure that was super ideal. Unfortunately, like, as cool as it is to pair up Adepts with Oracles, you also want to make sure you have enough units to safely secure a 3rd Nexus at a pretty decent time, which can be tough to do.
Well, JonSnow was about to lose an Overlord there, but thankfully that's not the case. Some of his lings are on the outskirts, so if that Stalker did leave the nest to try and finish off that Overlord, which it could have for sure, the lings would have surrounded it and killed it. Oracle shows up a 3rd. The well-timed Spore Crawler from JonSnow does bleed out 1 more drone, but a good defense overall, as long as the Oracle doesn't get more than that.
It might just go home. I mean, with 2 Oracles, you certainly are looking for more damage. I would say JonSnow not a particularly cheesy player. He definitely can do it, and I'm sure he also has like some +1 melee builds up his sleeve. And, well, He's proven to be a versatile player over the years, but I don't know if he's quite the person to ever try doing like 20 lings, denying that third Nexus a whole lot. But yeah, already grabbing a Stalker here, making 8 more lings. If Raze really wants to get that third Nexus down, like basically now is when he wants to do it. Like he actually has to bring those Oracles back. He loses another Adept, or basically does. This one should die.
Yeah, and I think the Lynx can actually finish off this Adept as well as that Probe, so that's a really nice play for JonSnow. Hey, whoa. Don't leave the dishes not finished. There we go. All right. Not that I'm cheering for any player in particular, I just want JonSnow to get as much value as possible out of his Lynx. Speaking of value, those Oracles finding 5 drones across the map. Oh, the Nexus! Another cancel there.
Yeah.
Was that explosion just way bigger than normal?
Oh, it's so much more dramatic with the new skins.
Holy crap! I don't think I've seen that before. Holy,
yeah.
Oh my god, that's amazing.
It's one thing I've noticed is that it's more dramatic, certainly larger, but it's shinier, so it just. Yeah.
Oh my god, I love the drama. This is fantastic. What a great war chest. You guys should all buy it, by the way.
Oh, that's definitely true. Already got mine. Just actually need to play the game instead of constantly casting.
Yeah, that's the problem. I need to get some XP on that thing. I'm seeing, I watch all these streams of people just, they're getting the new tiers and new skins. And I'm like, aw. Keep, like, casting things instead of playing.
Yeah, silly us. All right, so the whole, like, spiel that I had about delaying that Nexus did end up kind of coming into effect here. Raze didn't really get the swiftest, perfect build order that he would have wanted, which is really getting that Nexus right after the Oracles like do a little dance and song over on the other side of the map, and then your third Nexus comes down. It's well protected. You got some Sim City. Like, it didn't happen. It constantly got interrupted. So Raze also had to slap down some tech structures because he was starting to accumulate a lot of money and wants to get it going. It's not the most ideal, but it's also worth noting that JonSnow did make Lings and then lost a lot of them to do that, and especially on the loss, a lot of them here. We did have a very decent number of Adepts actually threaten that Shade in. Decided not to go for it. I guess they didn't actually get into the nook and crannies of the mineral lines, but that's going to give JonSnow enough time to actually build a defense against this, so I think maybe that would have been the better Shade.
Yeah, I think that Shade finishing actually would have been an all-right call. Like, I'm not going to criticize Raze for letting it cancel, but there were Lings in production, but not quite there. But you never truly know as a Protoss, right? Unless the Oracles sweep ahead. The Zerg is always out there waiting, watching, it feels, especially on creep. It's so terrifying. Spire goes down for JonSnow. Seeing a lot more Spire play lately. I mean, it looks like it's snuck its way over to North America. It's coming down. So no giant reliance on just Ling, Bane, Roach, Ravager, which is usually the case, and definitely the case at the moment.
Doesn't feel like he's going to commit too much to this, but just the start can always get the ball rolling, especially if they do come out in time to chase back any +1 push, actually chase down the Warp Prism. It's in a pretty obvious location, though, so Revelation even hits it with a second Revelation. Confirmed Spire play, but now... Oh, jeez. JonSnow doesn't necessarily have to go for it, now that it's been scouted. And like I said, he could also just, go for 6 or 7. But he's got an Overlord drop, which is pretty cool. 4 Banelings already in play. Raze does have +1 finishing, but it doesn't look like he's actually doing any type of move out, which, yeah, he's probably going to start up Storm.
Storm it is. Going to get up to some of that bad weather here, and obviously that's going to be pretty fantastic against everything that JonSnow is heading towards, except for maybe Mutalisks. Some people say we should get Storm to deal with Mutalisks. Should you though? You end up storming your own probes, and the Mutas are quite fast, and the player of JonSnow's level will just move it out of the storm. There's a Baneling drop at the main base. Raze, no probe pool, he's not looking.
Okay. All right, the second pair is a little bit better. The 8 in total is actually pretty good. Of course, with +2, those get even deadlier. No other Overlord drop is set up, though. I'm actually surprised. I thought the second one was going to come into the third.
They usually hit at the same time. That's the power of it, right? So. Oh well. I guess we'll just be disappointed, ZombieGrub. That's just life sometimes, You get your expectations, and then you just gotta, The whole build here, guys, is to just expect nothing, and then everything is a positive surprise.
The build of life, you mean?
The build of life, that's right. Yeah.
Exactly.
In Starcraft, you should expect a lot of stuff, otherwise you won't win games.
Just how, no gases taken, you're just like, well, I shouldn't expect anything here.
No, I'm going to get 3 command centers and not take any gases. Yeah, those kind of builds.
Well, it is a very small amount of mutas, but Raze also did this appropriately, only got a single Phoenix and get maybe 1 or 2 more, but it's a lot more about that ground defense. He is tucked into a corner. Baneling's crashing into, I guess, some of the probes somewhere. Still have the Overlord drop. I'm still waiting on that one.
Yeah, and these, I mean, Raze is trying to threaten and puff out his feathers and say, hey, I've got a lot of anti-air here by hallucinating some Stalkers, but he absolutely does not. The Baneling's crashing on in, and this Archon is the only thing that shoots up. The Mutas return here with the Roaches and Ravagers offering a ton of damage from low ground. Reinforcements from the Natural and Archons and Charge Lots coming on up to try and keep this base alive for Raze. JonSnow's reinforcements are on the way, but not quite here yet, so defensive warpins look like they might just be enough. Raze has lost a lot of his tier 3 army though, so he's basically just got some Charge Lots and a couple Archons, so his army is not looking fantastic.
Yeah, forced to morph all of his High Templars into Archons, but also losing a lot of probes. At least he kept his 4th base alive. That actually was not canceled, and now it can produce quadruple probes to kind of make up for that. That is the good news, but yeah, very appropriate to talk about the lack of Robo units and these High Templars. There might be enough High Templars to threaten a lot of storms, so become more Banelings.
Get out of here.
But there's not a whole lot of units to protect those High Templars, especially against Baneling roll-ins. So JonSnow not looking for a second attack, actually reinvesting into the Mutas, which I'm a little surprised by.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit surprising for sure. Usually when you've tipped your Muta hand, the Protoss is very prepared, especially when they're a good Protoss like Raze is. They're prepared for the next wave of Mutas or the potential of a next wave of Mutas. And JonSnow is just going ham. He's getting a ton of them right now. He's not researching any Mutalisk upgrades, but he's just getting so many of them that it's a massive investment. I mean, if Raze, for some reason, got up like 7 or 8 Phoenixes, these Mutas are completely counted. Luckily for JonSnow, that's not the case. He's only got these 3 picking up some drones. So it looks like Raze is actually, you know, I'm looking into my Magic 8 Ball, and I see Raze getting overwhelmed by Mutalisks and losing an entire mineral line in a few moments.
I think that's what's going to happen. I mean, he's getting a fleet beacon, but I think that's more just trying to read the situation as far as late game ZVP, not for any Impulse Crystals. But at least he could shift over to that once he realizes how many Mutas are in play, but he's got to realize it first. And yeah, the realization probably hits. Actually, it hits with the War Prism of the Oracle. I'm not sure which one that was, but still, get enough cannons to defend against that, while also defending against this forward push. It's going to be tough to do.
Yeah, certainly. He's got Fleet Beacon on the way, so he can get some Anion Pulse Crystals for those Phoenixes if he gets up there. More Banelings finding more probes. Raze has actually lost 42 probes this game. And in come the Mutt-Mutts right on top of that Stargate. There is a second Stargate on the way, but until then, that is it. And when that goes down, there is no more Phoenix production until that Stargate finishes. One of the Phoenixes actually falls back a little bit late there. The Mutas are sticking around in front of a shield battery. Oh, the Banelings connecting into the High Templar. Oh, that's even worse here. Yes, losing your anti-Mutalisk countermeasures is bad, but losing your entire ground army to Roaches, Lings, and Banes sucks worse. Oh, Archons are pretty damn good with that +2 attack. They are fighting back JonSnow there on that ground, but losing the High Templar obviously is annoying, and Fleet Beacon also sniped there.
Yeah, I think he realized kind of at the last second, because of course he was setting up, like he knew Doom was upon him, and he was trying his best to kind of calculate what he could do to help against that, right? So in the main, It was kind of a lost cause already. He was just desperately warping in. Here, he kind of like went against the army, hoping maybe catch like a better position. Didn't really work out that way. And I think the last thing on his mind was the shield overcharge, which actually might have helped save either a few units or maybe even anti-impulse crystals. But now the Mutas even taking on the 3 Archons. That's not a good sign.
Yeah, that's how you know you're ahead when you're a Zerg, when you just dive Mutas onto the Archons. And really, you know, the writing's on the wall for Raze, as valiant as he has been holding on at this Nexus. He just doesn't have money anymore. He's broke as a joke, and JonSnow's had 80 drones for a very long time. So he can afford to throw units away, and Raze losing units, not going to do him any favors. GG. JonSnow gets game number 1.
You know, JonSnow, it's kind of like, it's funny. At one point, he was the young, promised Zerg / just general North American player. When we talk about North America, I know it's almost like always, we have to say, okay, we're talking about Scarlet, Neve, and Special. And then everyone else, right? So as far as the everyone else thing goes, JonSnow was always kind of leading the pack. Nowadays, he's actually seen as one of the older guys, having graduated college like last year, I think. And always kind of like, well, is he trying to make it in the workforce? Is he really playing a whole lot? And then he shows up to these qualifiers that went, especially when they're actually region locked. He just, proves he's like, no, I'm still good. Like, I'm still going to do this. I'm still going to take this.
Yeah, and he's been in Challenger before as well. I remember, I think the the late and great Jeff In Control Robinson referred to, I think it was JonSnow, as a a professional American Zerg about to be birthed. He's not quite there yet. That's maybe a little bit more time in the oven. But you're right. You're quite right. We don't know if JonSnow is when you finish college, where are you going after that? Are you going to put a few more years into StarCraft? There's people out there like, for instance, the GOAT himself, Jonas Atala Serral, is someone that's putting off school because he is literally making millions of dollars playing this game. So that makes sense. But if you're not making millions of dollars playing this game, or even thousands of dollars playing this game, maybe it makes a bit more sense to put a bit more time and energy into school. So we're not sure where he's at. But anyway, what we do know is that he's 1-0 up in the series.
That's correct. We're on Everdream now. Bottom left, it is the purple Protoss Raze.
Raze. It is indeed represented by Root. And in the top right, JonSnow, represented by Psystorm Gaming. Basically the two biggest brands in North America. So what a poignant way to start off the broadcast. Root versus Psystorm.
Yep. You remember back when Root was like one of the bigger... Oh, we got a 16 pool. One of the bigger clans teams, and then it actually didn't exist for 1 or 2 years, I want to say, a long, long time ago. And has been back since like 2013 or 2014.
Yeah, I mean, with the Pylon show yesterday, a lot of discussion around teams and that sort of thing, and it is Katz's team, so you never know what it's like for teams unless you're a part of it or involved. And Katz, no doubt, has all the information en route. He's like, maybe he didn't have money back then, or maybe he didn't have sponsors back then, and now he does. You just don't know. But either way you slice it, it's just cool to see Root around. They've always been one of my favorite teams to follow as a fan of the North American region, and we're missing obviously. Does the Pylon have a nuclear blast as well when it's cancelled?
Yes.
This war chest's going to take some getting used to. It's also like made a giant scorch mark on the ground as well. It's absolutely amazing. I'm going to start structures and cancel them on purpose, I think.
I feel like they're trying to it's very much so a difference of how they explode, either when they're canceled or killed. It feels like they're trying to get the same effect as like an Archon dying, it's supposed to be like really dramatic, like all this energy was being poured into producing this thing and then it died, so it just like is literally a nuke when it dies.
It looks yeah. Well, I mean, every time I look at that Legacy of the Void cut cinematic and the Archon dies taking the Ultralisk with it, I always wonder if that would be how insane that would be if that was the case. When the Archon died, it actually just took everything around it into a singularity. And it all just died. It'd be pretty insane. We actually have JonSnow pulling out of gas completely here, so he's not like dedicating to the early pool. It just looked to be a safety play from JonSnow, getting himself a little bit of map control to start things off with.
Right. I'm not sure if he was wary of any like cannon shenanigans that could come from Raze, but I'm really familiar with Everdream as being super popular for it, but could have just been a way to start things off, knowing that he would have his hatchery blocked, especially on one of the shorter maps. It's definitely true, but his third hatchery came down. I was also surprised to see a drone scouting. I'm not sure what for, or just hiding. I'm not sure which one, but kind of past the point of the openers into deciding what actual build orders we're going to be doing here. It does get into the main, but unfortunately this is going to lose its, Raze is going to lose it, so always worth considering, but in this case it's not going to be worth considering because, what if he doesn't have enough to defend a third base? It's worth considering because they could be along an adept Resonant Glaive attack, losing one, you're suddenly at less. He actually doesn't pull off probes in the main base, so I think this may be with a Dark Shrine as well. It's usually
yeah, the Dark Shrine next after Resonant Glaives. Definitely have seen that before. Getting that Overlord was also quite nice here for Raze, because it sort of supply blocked JonSnow somewhat for a little bit there before the Overlords popped out. And seeing those extra gateways going down, he's going up to 4 gateways here. And at the moment, it looks like regular roll the printer for Raze.
All right, well, I mean, I'm pretty sure if you just go for the Adepts, then you can take 2 probes out of that main gas, but maybe there is a slightly different version. Or maybe just some type of emphasis on like what happens after this. But yeah. The point is,
there could
Adept
still be a Dark Shrine later. Yes, it's going to start off with some printed Adepts. There's a few follow-ups, the Koreans like either Dark Shrine or usually like Blink with Forge, that sort of thing. There is the Dank Shrine, there it is. Yeah. Look at that big brain, ZombieGrub.
Well, I guess I feel like I have seen it faster, so I wasn't quite sure in the timing, but now I can be.
There you go.
4:30 apparently. But we're just trying to go off with a single zealot in this War Prism. That's
Yeah. I've definitely never seen that before.
What you doing there, buddy?
What you doing? One of these things is not like the other.
All right. Well, it's maybe, I mean, no, I can't even say it's a slower thing. I guess it is when you consider Adept Shades. But there's the Adept attack. It's far more important. How does JonSnow deal with this? Some players go for Spine Crawlers in multiple bases, or at least one base. Lings and Roaches are usually the best thing to have, and a combination of the two. And it looks like he will have enough units, but you gotta note that when this build happens, you gotta take it so seriously. Your working out doesn't actually look that great. So you have to get even like 5 drones, it can start getting really nasty.
Well, he's only lost 3 so far, and that's a lot of dead Adepts, ZombieGrub. I'm not liking this at the moment for Raze. Did not start very well at all.
It's tricky because Adepts just suddenly kill stuff, right?
Yeah.
And even here, JonSnow was forced to build 3 Spore Crawlers knowing the potential follow-up, and actually kind of confirming it, I think, with the way the War Prism was just used. So his worker count really does not look fantastic, and Raze is not taking any chances back at home by going for a 3d30. He's actually building Immortals, so he should be able to hold any counterattack. No damage really being done here.
No, and losing Adepts and not getting a whole lot done sucks, but losing DTs and not getting a whole lot done is almost unforgivable. They are a very expensive unit. I like that Raze is just basically getting that third here. Is like, okay, you know, I need to make this happen. The third needs to get up, but hopefully he doesn't lose too much more on the other side. Maybe bring those DTs back, turn them into Archons. Yeah, there we go. And get the Archons in the Prism, send the Adepts back to the third and protect it from the Ling counterattack. The Lings are already here, though, and those Adepts taking a while to get back.
I thought Raze would have had 2 Immortals by now, but I think he, delayed his Immortal production and then did not cancel that Nexus.
Kill. Yeah.
That's not supposed to happen.
Rough game so far for the Protoss. Definitely all the advantages are in JonSnow's hands. Raze is actually floating a lot of money right now because of that third being gone and the fact that he's just making as many units as he has Warp Gates. Stings, man. And the... oh, no, the Immortal. Okay, it should be safe, but still very softened.
Yeah, taking damage. Never ideal. Yeah, I think Raze... I felt like he really had all the means to protect the third base. If he had 2 Immortals plus another Warpin back at home available, that certainly would have cut it, but his Warpin did just go into the Archons, so that's certainly forgivable. Not canceling is not forgivable. That's just that was just the awkward timing of him just about to hit the main with the Archons. So very, very unfortunate. This is taking away any possibility of that Macrogan being okay, because again, there are so many things that the Zerg has to consider when dealing with this build. That's why a lot of Zergs get frustrated with it. In order to perfectly defend, it still puts you in an uncomfortable position, especially when you try and say, okay, well, I have an army, let's counterattack, and they have 6 sentries and 2 Immortals with a War Prisoner, and like, oh, okay, super cool, Protoss is cool, but now that their Nexus is super delayed, it was killed, and really no damage has been done. The Adepts didn't get anything extra, the UTs nothing extra, Archon's nothing extra.
Yeah, they're getting some Lings here and there. That's negligible damage. And the Archons and the Prism is the only thing that Raze has got going for him at the moment. Every advantage is for the Zerg at the moment. And with these 5 Roaches popping out, JonSnow can just max out on Roach Ravager if he would like to and end the game. And that seems to be the plan here for our boy JonSnow. Holding that R button, making a few Ravages as the gas comes in.
Why not? 60 drones on 3 bases, all the gases. That's good saturation. You can take a 4th once your minerals start to accrue. Still be an imbalance at some point with minerals to gas. And yeah, just continuing hammer away with the Roaches. Archon's going to try to buy some time. Probably also get some scouting on if this is what JonSnow's plan is. Unfortunately, I think Raze might be a little bit on... I don't know if it's autopilot, but I think he wants to try and do something to punish JonSnow. It's too late to do that.
Yeah, unfortunately, when you're attacking into a guy that's done nothing but make units for the past minute, you're not going to get a whole lot done, especially with this much creep spread as well. So he loses a few of his very expensive units, which are similar to game 1. Not really. He's not in a position to be able to afford to lose them. Is young Raze. He's in a spot of bother right now, to say the least. He at least has those Archons. That Archon, yeah, there's the second one there. And the Immortals are safe, which is nice. But JonSnow is still committing to this attack. He's done nothing but make units, guys. It's 60 drones. We're not going to see too many more drones in this game, I don't think. JonSnow's going to try and break the hammer down for a quick 2-0. Let's see if he can.
Archon stuck in the natural is not going to be able to help, but a War Prism plus Immortal plus Archon has done wonders before for Protoss, so that's the best thing that Raze has. Hopefully he remembers the shield overcharge as well. He does. the Archon should last forever. I guess not that one. He's actually down to one more.
Well, JonSnow's just going to avoid that shield battery. He's going to respect that new ability for the Protoss to go down to the natural instead. Keep money's firepower there. Some of the Roaches and Ravagers are just zoning back those Immortals. Overcharge has expired, and that has a cooldown on it. It's a pretty lengthy one. So these Immortals are just stuck with a regular old poopy shield battery, which is not enough to keep them alive. JonSnow still overwhelming Raze's defenses, and he's warping as well as he can. They're killing that pylon. Will actually just cancel the warp ins. He doesn't even care. The Zealots are here. He started stepping back. JonSnow is up almost 60 army supply and should be able to just overwhelm right here.
That Immortal that just popped out could have been so helpful, but on the wrong side, the Warp's going to pick it up, and the one Immortal looks like it's awfully close to just simply dying. Raze put up a good fight, but JonSnow, once again, taking on a Protoss in the beginning of his qualifier run. Looking damn good with it. His follow-up's going to be a Spire, which, yeah, Raze absolutely can't defend a Spire. You can talk all day about Immortal, Warp Prism, Micro, but that doesn't help against the Spire.
I like that, JonSnow obviously knows that he's winning the game, but he's still, the sign of a great player is he's like, okay, let's get a Spire now, just in case. But, yeah, it's good discipline from JonSnow and a very convincing 2-0. Raze having some problems in the early game, leading to a bit of an awkward mid game is